Canadian military history is rich with stories of valor, dedication, and sacrifice. Among those who answered the call of duty were countless Christian men and women whose faith deeply influenced their actions and contributions. This Remembrance Day, we honor the sacrifice, the faith, and the valor of these men and women.
In Canadian society, the poppy is one of our most cherished national symbols. It's a reminder of those who laid down their lives in battle.
And of our duty to ensure their sacrifice is never forgotten.
Much of the poppy's recognition is owed to John McCrae, born in 1872 in Guelph, Ontario. At just 16, he entered the University of Toronto on a scholarship where he would go on to earn his Bachelor of Medicine.
His mentor, the renowned physician John George Adami, described McCrae as the most talented physician of his generation. His military career began in 1887, but it was the First World War that defined his legacy.
In 1914, at the age of 41, he volunteered for service in Europe, despite his deep disillusionment with warfare after his earlier campaign in South Africa. He admitted in a letter to his friend, "I am really rather afraid, but more afraid to stay at home with my conscience."
These words reveal a man who placed duty above his own fears and personal desires.
When he was deployed, McCrae was appointed brigade surgeon with the rank of major.
His duties placed him in the front lines, providing medical care under extreme conditions.
Day after day, he performed surgeries while exposed to relentless shelling and poison gas. In 1915, during the Second Battle of Ypres in Belgium, McCrae and his staff treated nearly 4,600 wounded men over the course of 17 exhausting days in the trenches. In the aftermath of this terrible battle, McCrae stood solemnly over a field stained red, not only with poppies, but with the cost of war.
From that sight came the inspiration for one of the most enduring poems of the 20th century, In Flanders Fields.
The poem opens, "In Flanders fields the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row." McCrae was remembered as a God-fearing, church-going man by his friend and biographer, Sir Andrew MacPhail.
His strong faith led him to challenge Darwinism,
a subject of intense discussion, demonstrating a firm stance on his spiritual conviction. McCrae believed that his talents carried a divine calling to be used in the service of the Lord. His unwavering devotion to God and country stood as a testament to both his faith and his duty.
After struggling with respiratory illness for much of his life,
Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae passed away on January 28, 1918, at the age of 45 from a severe case of pneumonia. Gaele Visser was born in 1920 in the Friesland region of the Netherlands and immigrated to Canada in 1930. From an early age, he was known for his strong faith in the Lord, a faith clearly reflected in the letters he would later send home while on duty. In 1942, Gaele answered the call of duty and departed for Europe to serve in the Second World War. He and his comrades came to be known as the Christian Commandos. His ability to speak English, German, Dutch, and French
made him invaluable to his officers, and he was frequently assigned to reconnaissance missions.
Gaele was also tasked with sentry duty, a critical responsibility in trench warfare. Because lengthy stalemates often occurred, soldiers could go hours or even days without action. One side would then wait for the other to grow complacent before attempting a surprise maneuver.
The sentry arguably carried the most difficult duty in all of trench warfare.
He was tasked with watching for incoming attacks, which meant peering over the trenches and exposing himself to danger. While others slept, he had to remain awake for hours, bearing the responsibility of keeping everyone safe. Constant exposure and long stretches of isolation made the sentry the most vulnerable of the infantry.
And the role carried a heavy mental toll.
One of the final letters he wrote to his family reads, "The disadvantage of fighting in a canal is that the German side has the higher wall and they can shoot down at us. We move along blood-soaked ditches at night. The soil is soggy and it's hard to move. If God wills, I'll write a little more next time. Until then, under his wings, my soul shall abide."
On April 23, 1945, just 2 weeks before the end of this great war, Gaele Visser was ambushed near Wilhelmshaven, Germany.
He now rests in the land of his birth, but it is for us to keep his legacy alive in the land he served, a legacy that calls us to honor both God and country. The massive scale of casualties in the First World War demanded a strong medical response, and many Christian women stepped forward to serve as nurses within the Canadian Army Medical Corps. Stationed in hospitals across Europe, they faced harsh and often dangerous conditions, tending to the wounded and the sick with steadfast dedication. They were often close to the front lines, exposed to enemy attacks, including the bombing of hospitals. Tragically, many lost their lives due to enemy action or disease. One such story is that of Edith Cavell, whose Christian convictions drove her to treat wounded soldiers from all sides without discrimination. She remained in Brussels after the German occupation of August 20, 1914,
tending to wounded soldiers regardless of nationality. Cavell helped about 200 captured British, French, and Belgian soldiers escape to the neutral Netherlands.
For this, she was arrested, charged with harboring Allied soldiers, and executed on October 12, 1915. On the night before her execution, she declared, "Standing as I do in the view of God and eternity, I realize that patriotism is not enough. I must have no hatred or bitterness towards anyone."
Edith Cavell's faith and courage, even in the shadow of death, secured her place as a martyr and a lasting symbol of grace given through Christ Jesus.
In the words found in John chapter 15, verse 13, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends."
I came here as a young boy, and like a surrogate mother, Canada embraced me with open arms. Yet for too many years, I took her for granted, and I failed to give thanks for the men and women who gave their lives so that we could live free. This is also a message to my fellow immigrants. Remember why you came here. You left behind failed systems, failed regimes, and oppressive powers. Don't turn Canada into the very places you escaped. We love this country as it is. We owe it to those who fought for us, to honor their memory and to cherish the freedoms they secured. God bless Canada. Christ is King.